You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Derek, and I'm joined, as always, by your co-hosts, Kevin and Alex. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good for the first full week without football, right? I mean, everybody's decompressing a little bit, seeing what's going on, and
I know I went through some withdrawals. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think there's between Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, and I'm thinking of one more. Anyway, the news feed's dominated by 3 or 4 NFL players and what's going to be going on with the quarterback carousel and what that looks like. And then you have the Major League Baseball arbitration that, seemingly took a couple steps backwards today. And so now it's kind of getting into, college basketball, some NHL hockey as they start to head down the home stretch here. And I'd say the NBA, but they're just coming out of the All-Star break. So we really haven't had that either. So a little bit of a lull. But we're getting ready to get into some good playoffs because playoff hockey is very arguably the best set of playoff sporting events that you could possibly get your hands into. So they just seem to do it right on top of March Madness. So you have those two right there. So we'll be carried through here the next few weeks until we get real close to draft time.
Yeah, I didn't really go through football withdrawals, mainly because I kind of checked out after such a poor fantasy performance this year, just across the board for myself. So I've been checked out kind of for a while. Really diving into hockey season, and Kevin, I'm glad you brought up the hockey playoffs because a guy that I work with, he brings it up every time, and he says, why on earth would you want to jump out of an airplane with no parachute high on cocaine when you could just watch the NHL playoffs? Because you will get the exact same feeling as watching the hockey playoffs as you will doing that. So I enjoy NHL. Obviously, I'm a huge hockey fan anyways, but I enjoy the NHL playoffs. And I think if you are looking for something, pick a team, just find a team, follow preferably a playoff team because that makes playoffs that much more fun.
Like the
follow their
Avalanche,
journey.
and then you can be fans like all of us are of that journey.
Sure, yeah, and enjoy the heck out of that ride because playoff baseball is intense.
Hit the snooze button.
Yeah, well, no, it's intense. Don't get me wrong. Playoff baseball is intense, but there are periods where you can catch your breath. If you're in a playoff hockey game that goes to overtime, yeah, if you're a fan of a team that goes into overtime in playoff hockey, there is no relaxation period because there's no commercial breaks and all that stuff. Anyways, find a hockey team. You'll enjoy the heck out of it this year, and it's easier to watch than ever because if you got an ESPN Plus account, you can watch a lot of games that way. No plug. I'm not getting any money from them, but I am grateful that they got the NHL contract this year, so I can watch all of the Avs games that I want to. It is a weird time. The long cold winter is upon us. It's getting colder for you guys. It's getting colder for us down here.
It's negative 13 here right now, Alex. I don't want to hear about your 40 degrees.
It was it was 80 yesterday, and actually for parts of today it was 80, but it'll be 30. It'll be 30 tomorrow. So not looking forward to that. And the downside is with that 30, there's also rain. And I don't know if you guys, scientists by any stretch of the imaginations, but water when it gets below freezing isn't really great. And the infrastructure down here not the best when it comes to dealing with getting ice off the roads. So. Could be an interesting couple of days for us down here, but we'll survive. I hope.
I hope so too. Although, the one gripe that I have with hockey right now is that normally hockey is easier to follow from a betting standpoint, and I have not been able to follow it at all recently. Just been all over the map, and there seems like there's upsets galore every single night that goes on there, and somehow one of the upsets manages to be on my parlay card almost every single night. So that's been not any fun. So thanks, hockey. But you're right, absolutely. The NFL playoffs or the NHL playoffs, nothing really like that. It is a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to go through. And speaking of a lot of fun to watch, we've got a great show for you tonight. If you haven't done so already, you can follow us on the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. Check us out on those. We've got some really good content, really fun content. You can DM us, all that good stuff. Interact with us over there, as well as the fact that if you haven't done so, do us a favor, head over to YouTube, click the subscribe button on the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. One of the best ways to support this independent podcast. But guys, we do have a lot of fun tonight. A little bit different show than what we're normally used to doing, right? Because the last few seasons, when we got to this point in the season, we're starting to gear up and starting to break down the teams towards next year. And quite frankly, we're gonna wait on really getting into our team recaps and team breakdowns until after the NFL draft here. And as we start getting closer to the NFL draft, when we which is going to happen towards the end of April, really about the 4 to 5 weeks leading up to it, we are going to have a ton of NFL draft coverage. We're going to be breaking down prospects. We're going to be going through all of those good things. We're going to have our NFL draft special going again. So you don't want to miss any of that. A lot of great content coming your way. But tonight, we're going to take a little bit different page, a little bit different avenue than we normally do, where we're going to just get into some debate style type of topics, some debate style type of questions. We're going to go through all of those things, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And if you guys are out there and you have a topic that you want to see us debate, throw it in the comments. Throw it in a DM, shoot it over to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, again at Good Old Boys FF. And I'm sure we'll have some more debates and some more topics coming up here over the next couple episodes. So if you want to see us hit something up, let's do that one. But let's go ahead and get into the topics, unless you guys want to hit up anything else.
No, let's
All
get
right.
to it.
Ready, set, here we go. On your marks. So out of the 2004 NFL draft class, which of those quarterbacks will be enshrined to the Hall of Fame first? Alex, I'm going to let you go ahead and start this one off and set the stage for us. For everybody out there listening that may not know who are some of the headliners in that 2004 draft class, you had guys like Eli Manning, guys like Phillip Rivers, guys like Ben Roethlisberger, you're kind of headlining those guys. But Alex, I'm going to go ahead and leave it up to you. Which one of these guys gets enshrined to the Hall of Fame first?
You're going to leave out Matt Schaub and JP Losman.
How could I possibly forget to include, JP Losman and Matt Schaub into the Hall of Fame discussion?
Well, I'm just saying,
I realized
part of the 2004 NFL.
I realized that the standards for the Hall of Fame seem to be, loosened up quite a bit over the last few years, and it seems like a lot more folks get in. But I don't know that we had set the bar so low that we were including JP Losman and Matt Schaub in the conversation. But if you want to, you go right on ahead. So
I'm just saying they're part of the draft class.
So am I. So you just tell me which one of those quarterbacks is enshrined to the Hall of Fame first.
The easy answer here, and I know that you guys, I don't know that you'll agree with it, but I honestly truly think, revisionist history and everything aside, and 2 big wins in a Super Bowl, which goes against everything that I said last week about winning 1 game does not make you a Hall of Famer. But I do think that Eli Manning will get in first because he retired a year before Phillip and Ben. So I'm saying that or 2 years before, whatever it was. I'm saying that Eli Manning gets in first. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but he was okay in the biggest market. He won the biggest games against Tom Brady. He was evidently, as you go back and you ask just the common fan or whatever, who was Tom Brady's bugaboo in the Super Bowl, and it was Eli Manning. Eli Manning was the Dragon Slayer when it came to defeating Tom Brady. He was the one who made it. What was it, 17-1 or whatever it was? It was Eli Manning. And now, do I agree that he, put together a Hall of Fame career? I don't think so. But I think those 2 wins will be enough to get him in. Now, I think that the other 2 that we're going to talk about are also Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And I think, again, I know that the league is geared towards passing, and I know that the rules are geared towards offense. And so take what you will from these quarterbacks that were able to take advantage of those rule changes, right? You can only play against the players that are in your era, and you can only play with the rules in your era as well. But I do think that Philip and Ben both get in. And as you guys well know, I've made it a point on here. I think Philip Rivers is a first ballot. And I know that I'll catch flack for that, but you go back and look at his stats. Yeah, he didn't win playoff games, never made it to a Super Bowl, but hell, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl either, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So
he did make it to one though.
He did, yeah, and then that's fair. Getting there is half the battle, but I think Philip Rivers is in on the first ballot. I think that the rules will get changed because we are seeing so many really good quarterbacks retire at the same time that you're gonna have to have more than one quarterback make it per ballot. So Eli gets in first simply because his number will get called first because of his retirement date. But I think Phil and Ben both get in too.
So just to summarize, you've got all 3 of those guys as first ballot Hall of Famers.
Yes.
All righty. Kevin, give us the counter.
The more I think about it, the less I'm buying the Eli Manning Hall of Fame notion. Like I'm taking the opposite approach from Alex. Philip Rivers, no Hall of Fame for me. So that kind of defaults to it's Ben Roethlisberger. Eli Manning was a 500 quarterback, guys. 117 and 117 was his career record. He had 244 interceptions, which is 45 more than Philip Rivers, who was second, and 50 more than Ben Roethlisberger, basically. Like, Eli might have done the most with the least amount of talent because some of those Giants teams were freaking god awful. Like, he had a couple stretches there with Odell and Plexico Burress. I mean, those are the 2 namesakes that Eli got to play with outside of Saquon's rookie year. Like, other than that, people are struggling. Like, if it wasn't for David Tyree's helmet catch, you wouldn't know that he played with him. Like, Plexico Burress made the catch in the second Super Bowl. Otherwise, do you think of Plexico Burress as a New York Giant or do you think of him as a Jet? Like, Eli did not have much talent around him, which obviously speaks to that 117 record. But here's what Ben Roethlisberger did do. Ben Roethlisberger, 6-time Pro Bowler. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2004, the year that they came out. Never had a losing season. 2-time Super Bowl champion. Let's see, he was 13-8 in the postseason. In 10 trips to the postseason, he was 13-8. So while that number isn't, bright and shiny necessarily, dude played in 21 playoff games. Like that is something that many quarterbacks can't even hold a candle to. So in the postseason, Roethlisberger was very efficient for the most part. Over 5,000 yards inside the playoffs, 30 touchdowns, and a 62.4 completion percentage. Phillip Rivers, 2,600 yards. That's it. And he had Antonio Gates. He had LaDainian Tomlinson. He had Jackson. And who was there was one other guy that he had who was playing alongside Jackson. And it doesn't even matter at this point. He had Sean Marion when he was still electric, and the whole, the sack dance that he was doing there, and they could never get over the hump. Phillip Rivers never beat Tom Brady. Never. Ben Roethlisberger played him almost every single year of their career because Pittsburgh was winning the NFC North as the Patriots were running the AFC East. So they matched up against each other. Brady still had a winning record, as he does against every single starting quarterback in the league, seemingly. But Roethlisberger, I think Roethlisberger was 7-15, something like that, against Tom Brady. So at least the wins were there. But when it comes down to it, part of it was the team around him, part of it was the culture. But Ben Roethlisberger is the only Hall of Famer in this group, and then by default is the first Hall of Famer in this group.
Okay. I like it. Some great points on both sides. Now I'm going to ask some points of clarity questions around it for both of y'all. So Alex, we'll go ahead and start with you, right? So when we look at the Hall of Fame, in my mind anyway, when we look at the Hall of Fame, we're talking about the elite of the elite. And you summed it up perfectly when you were talking about you can only play against your contemporaries. You can only be judged against your contemporaries and the era in which you played. So that being the case with our three candidates that you've mentioned, which you've said all three of those guys are first ballot Hall of Famers. That being the case, in what year or what time frame over many years even would you have classified each of those guys as a top 5 quarterback in the league?
See, okay, I'll count.
I've got a good one for Kevin too, so
I'll answer your question by asking you this.
Okay.
The classic lawyering.
You're gonna answer my questions with the question. I like it. Let's do it.
Yeah. The question that I will ask you is: a single season doesn't make a Hall of Famer, correct? It is a career.
Correct. So give me the time frame. Was it? You can even say during the beginning part of their career, the middle part of the career, or towards the end of their career, they were a top 5 quarterback against the contemporaries in the league.
I would say that it wasn't one season. It was the totality of seasons that, at least for Phillip Rivers. And now I know he doesn't really have great stats, but he was close there. He had a couple years where he was he finished in the top. Well, he was top 6 in MVP voting in 08 and top 3 in MVP voting in 09.
Okay. So I think there's a time frame in which you could say he was an elite level.
I would say in 08 and 09. 08, oddly enough, they were an 8-8 football team, and unfortunately, the MVP voting doesn't always go to the most valuable player. It goes to the most valuable player on the best team. So I'll have to double check myself here. That was Peyton Manning won the MVP that year. And he had a pretty darn good year. Hilariously, Chad Pennington was second that year. So take that for what you will. But in 2008, I would say he was, against the competition. That was a good year. And then in 2009 as well, let me just double check. Oh, guess who won MVP in 2009?
I'm saying Tom Brady.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton
Manning. All right.
Who
Peyton
turned in another
freaking
fantastic season.
Manning.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The sheriff taking it down there, but he did have several Pro Bowl years. I mean, he had what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Pro Bowl years spread out over his 16, 17-year career. So I mean, he was there. He was in elite status, close to elite tier status. But again, I think that it's the ultimate team game. And while he did have some good teams, he never had he had good players around him. I don't know that he had good teams around him.
They were the number 1 seed twice. Now, it wasn't a whole rough shot, but they were the 1 seed twice. Both times got bounced at home by the Patriots.
I will give you that. The 1 seed that in 2006, his third year in the league, right? They were 14-2, correct?
Yes.
And then in 2009, they were 13-3. And they were also playing in a division where, the Broncos were pretty good. The Raiders threw in some good years. The Chiefs right there towards the end started to become a problem. And then he moved to Indianapolis. But yeah, I mean, there were disappointing finishes, right? But right now we're seeing a pretty elite level quarterback have disappointing finishes to seasons. And I would say that, there's still a chance. We're not going to rule out that Kyler Murray's not going to be an MVP candidate or a Hall of Fame candidate. We're not going to rule that out. So I would say the totality, right? That's how you judge somebody, is based on the body of work. And based on the body of work, I mean, you have to look at where he's at in terms of passing yardage and touchdowns and where he ranks in those all-time stats. And I think that weighs heavy on the eyes and minds of voters.
I think the thing that helps Phillip Rivers is he was an Iron Man. He never missed a start. And that one of the things with the Hall of Fame is longevity. But in reality, he didn't capitalize when it mattered most. Like, he put up points on the West Coast, where we all know the media does not pay as much of attention to the West Coast outside of LA, right? It's LA, and then it's, okay, you're in Missouri now. I mean, that's really how it works as far as the national media is concerned. So there's another part of the reason. He's going to get overlooked because of where he played. Now, the fact that he played for that long, great. Did he put up some fantasy relevant numbers? Absolutely. Like, from the start of his career, QB 8, QB 5, QB 9, QB 21, but then QB 6, QB 11, QB 9, 11, 8, 10, 15, and 17. So over the course of his career, right, mashing it all together, he was a top 10 fantasy quarterback for the length of his career. Right? Like, if you draft him in a dynasty league, you got top 10 production out of Phillip Rivers. He played every single game, so you didn't have to go scrambling for a backup. And that part of it helps. On the downside, though, his best season as a fantasy quarterback was 728 points. He only broke 700 points 3 times. Like, you want to flip that over to Drew Brees, a guy who retired the same year as Phillip Rivers. Drew Brees, who Phillip Rivers replaced, right? Like, Phillip Rivers is the reason that Drew Brees was with the Saints. Drew Brees went on to set NFL career records, not just have a couple good fantasy seasons, but 900 points for fantasy purposes. Like, and another reason, they're not even close, is what I'm getting at. And that's the reason why, if nothing else, Rivers won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If the two were neck and neck and you couldn't decide between them, I get it. You put both of them in, but you have Drew Brees who set the bar, right? Him and Manning and Brady have just about every single quarterback record that you could dream of. And then you have Philip Rivers with no Super Bowl appearances, lackluster playoff performances, shrinking in the biggest moments, no MVPs to speak of, no NFL passing records, no touchdown records, no single game records, none of that. And you can't compare the two and think they're both going to get in at the same time. And so then you have to divert it back to, all right, if he misses that year, he's on to the next year. Roethlisberger and Drew Brees again, while their statistics are a little bit closer, right? The playoffs do matter. And the fact that Roethlisberger has 2 Super Bowl championships under his belt, not quite the Iron Man that Philip Rivers was, but he played in the right market because he played on the East Coast, played in Pittsburgh. So all these things are reasons why I don't think Rivers definitely doesn't get in on the first shot. I don't think he gets in on the second shot, and I don't think he gets in at all. But, for all the good that he did do, he was a good quarterback. But he wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback that people are going to remember and talk about 10, 15, 20 years from now, like we will Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Brett Favre, Steve Young. Like, these guys are household names.
So
Philip
I like
Rivers
it. I like it. Peng's pick, though, would disagree with you that he didn't set a record in the league, and that's because he certainly had most kids in the league. I don't know that record will be topped, at the moment. So
I don't know how many kids your boy AP have. Like, I mean,
I don't think he has
Yeah.
the 19 that Philip Rivers seems to have.
I think it's 11 though. Seriously, I do think he has 11 children.
I think they could literally go out and have an entire practice on one side of the ball with just the family. So, and have some folks in reserves if you count mom and dad in there too. Also, Peng's pick chiming in there, Alex. You don't like Chad Pennington?
I'm just saying it was shocking to see his name that high on a list.
Right.
That wasn't biggest New York bust quarterbacks.
So I like it. I like it a lot. Yep, Rivers and Antonio Cromartie could start their own.
I was trying to think. I was like, who was the other guy? I know there was somebody. Yep. Yeah.
So I like it. So Kevin, real quick, you touched on this one, but just a point of clarification on this one, right? Like, and one of the things that was brought up was the passing yardage for all three of their candidates that we've got in contention with this, with all three of those guys being top 10 in NFL history in passing yards. And you look at Ben Roethlisberger, Philip Rivers, where it took Ben Roethlisberger one extra season to pass Philip Rivers and only did it by about 700 total yards there. Explain the position real quick on how top 10 passing yardage doesn't get into the Hall of Fame for two of your candidates that you're talking about.
Again, I think it's understanding that they were kind of at that beginning of this dynamic passing era. Right? They came in at the tail end of your workhorse running back, i.e. Jerome Bettis, and what LaDainian Tomlinson did, who in his own right was dynamic because he's kind of I'm not going to say the first big receiving back, but he was an electric receiving back as well as very elusive in between the tackles. So I'm not so worried about the career yards because Roethlisberger over the course of his career missed a season due to downtime, a season plus, really. So, I mean, games played, Rivers played more games, so he should have more passing yards, right? Like, so Rivers had more games played, so he has more touchdowns by a long shot. But a lot of that, I truly believe, is because of the fundamentals in the organization, right? You think of Steelers, you think of ground and pound. You had Jerome Bettis, and then you had a couple fill-ins, but then you had Le'Veon Bell, and a guy who did so much out of the backfield, both receiving and running between the tackles, and kind of how they formed that team around him, that Ben just didn't have to throw it as much. On top of the fact that playing in Heinz Field, any account of, media personnel who have been there or players who have played there, right? The winds are constantly swirling, right? Like Heinz Field might be one of the most difficult places to consistently throw the football, just because of how they sit right there coming off the Ohio River and
Allegheny, right?
I believe, yeah, sorry, that's the, yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just part of it, right? So I'm not looking at just the yardage. It's what did they do with that, right?
All right. I like it. So to summarize, we've got Alex saying that all three are first ballot Hall of Famers. Kevin saying that only Ben Roethlisberger will be the first ballot Hall of Famer, being the first to get in. So there's the summary, guys. There's the debate. Alex, I'll give you one more counterpoint, and we'll move on to the next topic.
I will tell you this, and this is a great thing that Pro Football Reference puts out there. They have their Hall of Fame monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got, it breaks it down. And unfortunately, it's based on an average, but it's, think of it like the bell curve when you're going through class, and you've got the freaking smarty pants that aces the test every time, that wrecks the curve for everybody. That's Tom Brady in this example. Tom Brady has wrecked the curve for everybody because his Hall of Fame monitor number is ridiculous. Same with Peyton Manning. Both of those guys ridiculous, and obviously Peyton's in, and
Right.
Tom. If they didn't have to wait 5 years, Tom would be in tomorrow, right? But I will leave you with these numbers on the three guys that we talked about. This says a score of 100 is around the average modern era inductee as a quarterback in this Hall of Fame monitor. I'll give you this. Aaron Rodgers, he's at a 187.26. And this is based on AV, Pro Bowls, All Pros, championships, and other various stat milestones. That's what they say they use to
Right. It's a very
up with this.
particular algorithm that they've got
very,
there.
very much.
Yes.
Yeah. Ben Roethlisberger, 100.28. So right on the cusp, right on there of that 100 for the average modern era inductee. Philip Rivers
ranks him 13th among the scoring that you're using there.
Yeah, I believe, yes, correct. Does rank him 13th. In 14th, though, Philip Rivers, 98.06. One spot below Ben Roethlisberger. Eli is 85.01, so 15 points shy of the 100-point margin. I still think that people will look fondly on him. I think that they will see him and his brother and how they grow the game through their Monday Night Football broadcasts that they do. And I think people will look fondly on Eli Manning, and he gets in no matter what. And really, when you consider the guys that are behind Ben Roethlisberger and Philip Rivers, Bart Starr, Terry Bradshaw, Roger Staubach, Dan Fouts, Kurt Warner. Now, none of those guys played in the same era. Warner right towards the end, right? Warner lost a Super Bowl to Ben Roethlisberger when he was in Arizona. But, I mean, if those guys are in, how do you not let Philip Rivers in?
Warner also has a Super Bowl, though, too.
I agree. I'm with you. I'm just saying that he was kind of – his career was at the tail end of when these guys were just getting into their
author of the greatest show on turf. Every single offensive player on that team.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah, it was something else to watch. Absolutely.
That was a lot of fun.
All righty. So I like it. For everybody out there on the listening in or watching this, hit us up on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, send us a DM on that. And I want to know who you think, or throw it in the comments here on the live stream if you're watching live as well. But throw it out there who you think made the best argument for their case on that one, whether Alex with all three are first ballot Hall of Famers, or Kevin thinking that Big Ben is the first ballot Hall of Famer and is the guy that gets in first for the 2004 draft class. I like it among the quarterbacks. So I like it a lot. The great discussion there, a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and head on over to the next topic that we're going to talk about tonight, and that is Patrick Mahomes' career trajectory, right? So we're going from guys that just ended their career trajectory to a guy that's still very early in his. And we've seen this happen several times with quarterbacks coming out on rookie deals, them an organization be able to assemble a good roster around them and make a playoff run, win a championship. Obviously, as we saw, Patrick Mahomes inked one of the richest deals for a professional athlete in American sports just a few years ago. And very well may pose some salary cap implications and some hardships for the Chiefs going forward there as well. All of that to be said, give me a comp on an NFL career trajectory for Patrick Mahomes.
The one that comes to mind first, honestly, because of how he is able to manipulate offense, and coupled with the fact that he has one of the more brilliant offensive minds as a head coach in the league, the trajectory that I honestly think seems reasonable is Drew Brees. It's a guy who was able to, make the most out of not a lot, but he also had a brilliant offensive-minded head coach, pretty much lockstep every step of the way there with Sean Payton there in New Orleans. So now I think that Mahomes is going to take more advantage of the fact that the league is more offensive happy or more slanted towards the offense. And the fact that, you can't sneeze near a quarterback and not get flagged 15 yards for a personal foul. So I think I would say that that's probably the easiest, and it's the top of mind comp. Just right when you said that, that was the first quarterback that came to my head, was that a guy who made the players around him. And now the Chiefs are going to have to get creative with how they can keep some of that talent around him, because you don't pay, what was it, $500 million to a guy and still maintain a cohesive roster, because it is a salary cap league. So the Chiefs are going to have to get creative. They're going to have to hit on a few draft picks that they weren't anticipating, and they're going to have to probably part ways with those draft picks when it comes time for them to get paid. So I think I'd say Drew Brees trajectory, because I think we all agree that Patrick Mahomes is one crazy talented quarterback that has a cannon for an arm and can just manipulate defenses in a way that is very hard for a defensive coordinator or a defensive player to try and figure out what's going on. And I think part of that is because he has Andy Reid as a head coach, who is scheming up things in a way that defenses don't ever really get to see. So I would say a Drew Brees trajectory for Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. I like it. Just to highlight some points there, right? When you look at a per game basis over, because of, got to go on with a per game basis because of the difference in career arc so far. But Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, both around about 24 completions per game. Patrick Mahomes actually takes the cake a little bit by having about 20 more passing yards per game. Drew Brees averaged about 280. Patrick Mahomes right about 301. Similar in touchdowns with just over 2 per game, and pretty similar on interceptions with a 0.8 and a 0.6 interception rate. Both of them averaging right about 1.5 sacks a game there as well. So I can certainly see that, and some of the per game stats out there certainly kind of speak to your point there as well. Kevin, what kind of career trajectory do you see for one Mr. Patrick Mahomes?
I'm seeing it along the lines of Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
and a lot of their numbers match up very well on a per game basis. So Mahomes, 24 and a half completions per game. Rodgers is just under 22 completions a game. Mahomes again takes the cake in the yardage, as he has about a 40 yard spread um, over Rodgers. Um, but Rodgers doesn't turn the ball over like Mahomes did this year, and we don't know if this is the new normal or if he's pressing or what he's going to learn. So that's kind of there. But then, what really kind of keyed it in for me were their playoff numbers, and this is why I think the Chiefs, as good as Patrick Mahomes is, I think the Chiefs might end up struggling because while yes, Mahomes has Andy Reid, you got to remember, Rodgers had Mike Holmgren, and at that time, Mike Holmgren was considered a passing genius in the NFL, right? He was Sean Payton, Andy Reid before they really started making their mark in these passing games. So their playoff totals um, are again very similar, 25 to 23 as far as completions. Patrick Mahomes attempts about 3 more passes per game, keeps that separation in yardage. I mean, we're still looking at a 40-point swing in yardage, so that part kind of stands true. And then sacks about the same, interceptions about the same. This team build is about the same, right? That look at the teams that they're on too. Is Aaron Rodgers always had that one go-to receiver, whether it was Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson. He had obviously Devontae Adams here this last couple of years. And then there was always a number 2 for Rodgers in the distance. And that's kind of the big separation point is, right? Mahomes has Hill and Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers had Greg Jennings, right? So there's always kind of marrying them up. You had Driver and Jennings and Jordy, Bubba Franks, right? Bubba Franks doesn't get any love. But Aaron Rodgers liked throwing to Bubba Franks. Like he was a safety blanket for him earlier on in his career. But as you go through and look at these metrics, at the moment they are within spitting distance of each other. Their average rushing yards per game, Mahomes averages 3.8 with 0.1 touchdowns per game. Rodgers averages 3.2 with 0.2 touchdowns per game, because Rodgers is a bit more mobile than a Drew Brees is, for that aspect of it. But I really think that we're going to see Patrick Mahomes, the big name quarterback who won a Super Bowl early, who was always kind of fighting to get back to it. Yes, he made it, I guess, 2 seasons ago now. Holy cow, in that defeat against the Bucs. But as we kind of see this going and how the AFC is panning out with all this quarterback talent, I do think that his career is going to mimic a lot of what Aaron Rodgers did. And it's just a matter of if he's able to stand on top of that hill kind of one more time than what Rodgers did over the course of his career. Because four MVPs for Rodgers. They each have a Super Bowl victory right now. They play in pass-happy offenses. They kind of dominate the division that they're in. And then it's the playoffs, right? Can Kansas City find ways to get past your Buffaloes, your Cincinnatis, your New Englands, who still pose problems for a lot of teams, much like Aaron Rodgers had? Can he get past the Niners? Can he get past those vaunted New York Giants defenses when Eli won his championships? Can he get past, the Seattle defenses and the Legion of Doom? They all catch up here. And in the playoffs, when neither team or quarterback had a great running game around them, I feel like you're going to see these continue to mirror each other as Mahomes' career goes on and as Rodgers' career winds down.
I like it. The one that came to mind for me was a different Green Bay quarterback, the predecessor to one Mr. Aaron Rodgers, and it was Brett Favre for me on this one. A lot of that has to do with the fact of, right, like how I think they both kind of look at the game. They both of them put so much trust into their arms and being able to, and the arm talent that they have to do that. And I think we've seen that come to light a little bit more so with Mahomes over this last season, where they get a little bit of that gunslinger mentality. They try and press a little bit. They try and make those things happen, to the point there that was really kind of the person that came to mind for me on this one. Again, very similar to a lot of the points that you made there, Kevin, with the fact that they've been in the division. They kind of run the division there. They were paired with offensive coaches that really had a lot of flair for the passing game on that one. And it only resulted in so much success in the postseason. While it resulted in a ton of success throughout the regular season, a lot of regular season accolades there. That's where I see this one kind of going and ultimately panning out for Patrick Mahomes, is more in the Brett Favre role, and the Brett Favre kind of way of processing the game there. But I think all of us came up with some very, very good candidates there. Does anybody else have a point that they want to make towards the either against a comp thrown out here or for another comp thrown out here?
No, but I think we can end with some fun trivia.
Okay. I like trivia.
I will put it towards you guys. I will have you. Do we want to play name the coordinator or guess the offensive rookie of the year? You guys get to decide. Name the coordinator or guess the offensive rookie of the year.
What time frames are you looking at?
Well, I will also leave that up to you.
Okay. I'm pretty wide open.
I will give you a decade, and then we can go from there.
I'm pretty open there. Kevin, what do you want to play here?
Oh, that's one.
I found an interesting comp for Aaron Rodgers based off a per game basis that people will probably fall over when they think about
now
this.
I got to hear it.
Matt Ryan?
Matt Stafford.
Oh, yeah.
Their completions, yardage per game is much closer. Aaron Rodgers is at 2.1 touchdowns per game. Stafford's at 1.8. Take about the same amount of sacks. Stafford doesn't rush as much, but I mean, when you're looking at this over the course of careers, roughly the same amount of completions and attempts. Their completion percentage, Rodgers has the edge at 65 compared to Stafford at 63. Stafford's 5,000 yards behind Rodgers, but he's really 2 seasons behind Rodgers based off of Rodgers having some injury-plagued season, an injury-plagued season kind of with Stafford, but then sitting behind Favre there for a little bit. But if you look at their comparables, not only career but per-game basis, we anoint Aaron Rodgers as a surefire Hall of Famer because he's won a Super Bowl early in his career. Now, I know I'm changing the topic, but it goes back to our show last week. Is Matt Stafford a Hall of Fame quarterback? When his numbers, just the numbers, not the accolades, but the numbers are even closer to Rodgers than what Mahomes are.
Fair enough.
Just food for thought. Anyway.
I like it.
That is interesting.
I like it a lot.
What are we doing? Rookie of the year now? Sorry, I digress.
So,
do you want to do
offensive rookie of the year or play coordinator? Match
guess
the
coordinator.
So
offensive rookie of the year.
Ah, dang. Guess the coordinator is going to be fun. We'll have to do that next week because I'm going through some of these. I'm going through some of these, and it is interesting to see some of these guys that were, where they've bounced around to. All right.
By the way, I don't think we mentioned it, but the last time that we showed up on a trivia show, we took home the title again. So
you took home the title. Alex and I had. Yeah, Alex and I had.
I was channeling your spirits when I was answering those things, and I knew that you guys were giving me the correct answers there. So.
But we're 3 or 4-0 when we go into the
3-0 on that show. I think we're 3 on the show. 3-0 on that show.
All right.
Tease us.
Let's pick a decade. I'll give you either 90s, the aughts, or the 10s. 90s, aughts, or 10s. And I swear to God, if you guys pick 10s, although it might shock you for some of them.
Let's start with the 90s and see where we go.
All right, let's pick a random year in the 90s. I'm going to go 1996. Who was the AP 1996 AP Offensive Rookie of the Year? Oh, that's the defensive.
Give us that position.
Hold on. I was looking up the defensive, and the defensive came up, and I was like, never in a million years will you guys get this one. Position, NFL honors, AP Offensive Rookie of the Year for the year of 1996. The position, running back. No cheating.
Should have guessed with it being a running back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Are we doing it where we alternate back and forth, or just whoever's got the answer first?
I will let you both take a stab at it because I promise you won't get it first try. So
96?
Yeah, go ahead.
Running back. Eddie George.
Derek, first try, you cheater.
That's a good one.
All right, we'll give Kevin the next
Ohio
one.
State, if I'm not mistaken.
We'll go 2 years later, and we'll give Kevin first crack at this one. The 1998 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. I will give you a position since I gave it to Derek as well. Wide receiver.
I know this one.
Is that Moss?
Randy Moss. Very well. All right, we each got one.
We covered him. We covered him a few weeks ago with that one. I'm like 98. I know this one. Especially when he said wide receiver.
Okay, Derek, you will get the 2004, not 2004, because we just talked about it.
And Kevin gave away the answer?
2003 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. I will give you the position.
Okay.
Wide receiver.
Three. Oh, I know this. I know
Kevin,
this.
Don't cheat because you might get a chance to steal. Did you?
I know that.
Cheat?
I got the uniform. I can see he played. I think he played for the Cardinals. What was that guy's name?
Oh God, you're such a cheater. You are such a cheater. There's no way. You do not think of the Cardinals when you think of this guy. There's no way you're not cheating right now.
No, because Larry Fitzgerald was later than that, wasn't he? He's close to do that. I don't know. I would say Larry Fitzgerald.
It is not Larry Fitzgerald. Kevin, you can steal.
Santonio Holmes.
Not Santonio Holmes. It was a Cardinals receiver.
David Boston?
No.
If it's not David Boston, then it's Antoine Bolden. It would be the only other one that comes to mind.
Bolden is the correct answer. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, Kevin, this one goes to you, and I will give you 2009.
By the way, when did Larry Fitzgerald come out? Now I got to know that.
I don't know.
Hold on. 2004.
There you go.
Okay.
Heck of a draft class, 2004.
Well, I was sitting there thinking that you said wide receiver, and I was like, Larry Fitzgerald came around that time. It's got to be him. But
so I'm giving you 2009, Kevin, wide receiver.
2009 wide receiver.
Oh.
Kevin currently leads 2-1. No, 1-1.
It's 1-1.
It's 1-1. I did not get right. Bolden.
It is 1-1. Kevin with a chance to take a 2-1 lead.
What position? You didn't give him that.
Wide receiver. Not you.
Wide receiver. He did.
Oh, sorry.
10 seconds.
Reggie Wayne.
Incorrect. Derek with a chance to steal.
2009 wide receiver.
Oh, damn it. He came out in 01.
You're a decade ahead of time there.
No, 01 and 04. I was 3 years off.
I don't
We're
know
in 09.
I don't know that one.
In 2009, the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, Percy Harvin.
Oh, Mr.
Percy
Do
Harvin.
Everything.
All right.
And then do nothing.
And
All
then
right.
do
This
nothing.
will be our last one.
Way to
We'll go
stump
into the
competition
tens.
there, Alex.
No, this is our last one.
Okay.
Whoever gets the answer first is the winner of this trivia game. We will go into the tens, and I will go the year. I'm not going to give you the position. I will not give you the position. I will only give you the year. The year, 2015.
Todd Gurley.
Derek is our winner.
I figured I figured that you were going to go with either a Georgia or Oklahoma guy, and there was nobody that came out of Oklahoma in 2015 that could have put up that kind of thing.
Was in fact Todd Gurley, the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. Maybe we'll do Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be a nightmare. You name one Defensive Rookie of the Year that's not Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Good fun. Derek wins the inaugural
Taylor,
random
does
trivia
that count
game.
Oh, I don't even want to know what you had planned for the guess the coordinator. That would have been everybody gets an offer.
Holy crap. That would have been so much fun, though. That would have been so
for
much
you.
fun. Yeah. That's why I came up with the game. It's fun for me.
All right. Well, I like it. I like it a lot. Guys, I think that's going to take us down to the end of it. Any final thoughts for the listeners and viewers out there?
Keep your eyes peeled and stay tuned, right? I mean, we had some fun this week, a little bit of a different show with not having football going on. But as we get closer to it, obviously more news and notes, free agencies coming up, the quarterback carousels, draft time for the NFL, team breakdowns, as Derek alluded to earlier. So we got a lot of stuff heading your way here this summer. So stay tuned, keep your eyes peeled. And as always, give us a like, give us a follow. We appreciate the audience, and y'all have a good week.
Alex, any final thoughts?
That co-signed to what Kevin said.
I like the cosign. Guys, that's going to do it for us. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Always appreciate y'all doing that. Make sure that you're heading over to YouTube, clicking the subscribe button on the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. You can find us on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. He's Kevin. He's Alex. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe.